everyone, and welcome to my channel. My name is Ashley and this is Lil Modern Mama. We are talking today, in today's episode, about trying to conceive. And that's, a big personal journey for my husband and I. And we have one little girl. She is 14 months old. Her name is Reagan and she's amazing, but it was a long journey for us. There's a few things that I'm going to cover today, but first, if you like my video and you want to hear more from me, please hit the subscribe button. Sure, definitely hit the alerts button so you know when I have new videos being posted. So you're ready to try and have a baby. That's amazing. We are working on baby number 2. We are actively in the process of trying to get that little one here, and it's an adventure. So what are we actually going to cover today? So we're going to cover research, cover health, we're going to cover how to make a baby. Hey, we'll talk about the 2-week wait, some terms that you may not have ever heard before that maybe you're confused on. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our story and where we are, where we've been, things that have been great and things that haven't been great in our TTC life. Let's get busy. Number 1, research. I cannot stress how important research is. Now, when I say research, I don't just mean you as a gal researching things and trying to find out information so that you can take that back to your spouse, significant other, whoever, and tell them, these are the things that I learned. This is something you guys should be doing together. First of all, you're here watching a YouTube video on that. Good for you. Step 1 in the right direction. Watch more YouTube videos. Go on Google. Do some research. Check out some books. It Starts with an Egg. That's a great book. Research that one. Amazon has it. What to expect before you're expecting. That's a big one. Definitely give that a check. And, that was something that was big during my pregnancy with my first child. Reading what to expect when you're expecting and knowing all of those things. There's some great stuff for dads in there too, to help dads understand, what you're going through and what they can actually help out with and be participating in. I think something that's extremely important is talking to your doctor. So it doesn't matter what age you're starting to try and conceive. I think talking to your doctor and getting information from them is probably the number 1 step you need to take as you're starting this journey. You can have a preconception interview with your doctor or screening with your doctor or conversation with your doctor. I know right now with telemedicine, having a telemedicine conversation with your doctor about trying to conceive is a big deal, and you can definitely do that. And I cannot stress enough how important it is to choose the right doctor. You may have had the same OB for a long time. Find someone that you want to have on this journey with you from start to finish. And if it's not a specific person, maybe it's a specific practice. I know for us in the practice that we visit, or the doctors that I see, they have 7 different doctors on staff at all times. And there are occasions where my doctor might not be available. And so I have to see someone else. And that's exactly what happened during our pregnancy with Reagan and, and other things that we've gone through in this course of trying to conceive. We've had to see different doctors, but I know for a fact that the staff there is fantastic, and I trust the doctors that are there because they've taken such great care of me so far. So it's an amazing thing. Also, having your significant other participate and go to the doctor as well. It's very important for guys to get their sperm count checked. It's important for them to know the mobility of their swimmers. He plays a huge part in trying to conceive. A lot of times we think that as women, it's our duty to be healthy and all of these things. That's not true. Guys have to participate as well. So that's a big deal. A lot of guys don't know that they have issues like that. They think it's all on the gal, like, oh, she must not be fertile. That's why we're not getting pregnant. Not true at all. Sometimes it's the dude. The other factor to take into consideration is age. And I know, we talk about this all the time, you can wait until you're in your 30s, blah, blah, blah. Well, the truth is, when you're younger, you're actually way more fertile. Between the ages of 16 and 30, you've got a 20 to 25% chance every single month that you could get pregnant if you're ovulating. Think about that for a second, a hot second. 20 to 25% chance that you could that month get pregnant. It's a small chance. It's scary. The likelihood that you're going to conceive that month is low. So when you're telling people, well, hey, I'm going to wait until I'm 35 before I have kids. When you're 35, that number goes down to like 10 to 15%. That's why when you're 35, they put you as a high-risk pregnancy, because the likelihood that you're going to carry that baby to term goes down significantly. The likelihood that you're even going to conceive that child goes down significantly. So if you're planning on waiting until you're 40 or 45, don't. Try it earlier. You know, all you're doing is just wasting time. There's no good time to actually start having a baby. You never know how long it's going to take for you to actually get pregnant. If you wait till 35 and it takes you 5 years, which is what happened with us. I wasn't 35, but you know, I waited for a long time, and it took 5 years for us to get Reagan. And that's a long time, guys. It's a long time. It's a lot of no's, a lot of big fat negatives. So don't wait. Do your research. Invest your time, your energy, and your money into finding out different things. Ask your doctor about different procedures too that might be helpful in your trying to conceive journey. A lot of women have blockages in their fallopian tubes. There's something called a fallopian flush. It's an HSG test. It is one of the most painful things I've ever done in my entire life. But someone had recommended it to me and said, hey, ask your doctor in this test and see if like anything is blocking your fallopian tubes. One of the great things about it is that if there is something small blocking your fallopian tubes, when they do the flush, it actually flushes it out, and they don't even see it on the, you know, the screen. Like, it's just a blip and it goes away, and then you're done. And then, you know, within 3 to 6 months, you might end up getting pregnant. And that actually did happen for us. We got pregnant within 6 months after our HSG. That doesn't happen for all women. It does happen for a lot of women. I have a lot of friends who have success stories by that. There's not very much research on it. I don't know. It just happens. Keep that in the back of your mind as something that might be a possibility, something that might be helpful for you. Again, that test is an HSG. Moving on, health. Obviously, if you're doing street drugs of any kind, you should stop that. That's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for the baby, and you should give yourself several months to detox out of that. If you're doing like, you know, hard drugs, coke, meth, heroin, whatever, give yourself a little bit of time, because those drugs do stay in your system and can make it hard for you to conceive and can have adverse reactions and effects on your child. Other things that can be harmful to not only you, but the baby, if you're smoking anything, whether that's cigarettes, vaping, or marijuana, there are studies that do show that cigarettes, vaping, and marijuana can have negative effects on the fetus. So if you do get pregnant while you are smoking anything, please, please, please stop, because you could have developmental disabilities with your child. That could be something that you don't see right off the bat, that you start seeing when they're 2, 3, 4, and 5 years old. You think they're super healthy when they come out, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with a learning disability, and that's not okay. Like, you can prevent that. So do that for sure. There's also risk of spina bifida if you are smoking, and that's definitely something that you want to avoid. You want your baby to be able to walk. You want your baby to have a good quality of life. So just stop. Drinking alcohol. So obviously they don't know how much alcohol is okay to have during pregnancy. The studies don't really have like a hard line, like you can't have a beer or whatever. When you're trying to conceive, take a step back for a while. Don't like be overdoing it and binge drinking every single night. Like, you don't need to be blackout drunk every night to be able to conceive a child. Obviously, some people do get blackout drunk and do conceive a child. Hey! So just kind of be careful. I know for us, I had a doctor tell me that, yeah, absolutely. Like, if you've been stressing out about trying to conceive and it's just not happening for you, hey, have a couple of beers before you do your baby dance, and maybe things will just be a little easier. Maybe you'll be a little bit more relaxed, and that'll be fine. Once you do find out that you're pregnant, though, stop drinking. What's nice is there's a little cushion there within the first, 4 to 6 weeks of you conceiving your child. You might have that amount of time that the baby isn't attached yet to your uterus. So anything you eat or drink or do, it's not going to affect the baby in an adverse way yet. But after that, usually by the time you're 6 weeks along, which is 4 weeks after conception, then you've missed your period. You know that there's something wrong. You've probably taken a test. You might even have had your first doctor's appointment. So definitely stop drinking by that point. Stop smoking. Stop doing any sort of extra drugs. Just be healthy. If you are overweight, diet. If you are underweight, I have family members that struggled with weight gain, and that's a thing. Talk to your doctor about how to increase that weight gain, how to make it so you're at a healthier level. Sorry for the shaking. That's the baby. So those are just a couple little things. Also, you want to start getting a prenatal vitamin about 3 months prior to trying to conceive. Your prenatal vitamin should have at least 400 micrograms of folic acid in it. And if you have something that has DHA, that's great. I'm not a doctor. I can't prescribe you a specific one or tell you which one is the absolute best. All I can really say is like what I use. And I use the Perfect Pack from Nutrilite, which really isn't a prenatal vitamin per se. But it has everything that you need for a prenatal vitamin and then some. It has your 400 micrograms of folic acid. It has DHA. It's got some great omegas. It's got some other stuff for good brain health for you. Amazing for me. There are so many other prenatal vitamins out there on the market right now that are absolutely outstanding and fantastic. Do research, find out which one is the right one for you. Maybe you have an aversion to like that fish oil kind of taste, and there's a lot of them that have a fish oil in there. You know, try that out. A good suggestion for that, if you do have an issue with that, stick your prenatals in the fridge, and when they digest into your system, they'll actually digest farther down, and so you won't get that fish oil burp taste afterwards. So just a tip and a trick. All right, guys, moving on. Let's make a baby. Hey, getting freaky. All right, so making a baby, it's not just sex. You know, I'd love to say that you just like go rampant and have tons and tons of sex. That's not actually going to be what gets you pregnant. There are some very, very like strong specifics in getting pregnant. It only takes one time, and it needs to be on a very specific day. And there's so many things that go into it. As you're making your baby, these are some of the things that you're going to be doing. First of all, you're going to get ovulation predictor kits. I recommend them, but I don't recommend them forever. So I would say for 3 months, have some ovulation predictor kits, get them, use them. Make sure you know and understand when you are ovulating. After 3 months, you should have a good standard of, I'm probably ovulating during these certain days. And you'll know a little bit more about what your body is like and how your body works. You'll understand your body a little bit more. Get them. So you'll see that term a lot, OPK, ovulation predictor kit. CM, cervical mucus. This is gross, but you know, stick your fingers in there and like check out what the mucus in your vagina looks like and what it feels like, what it smells like, all of those things. Keep track of that, write it down. There are very good specifics on like when you're ovulating, what your cervical mucus is going to look, feel, smell like, all of that. You want something that's nice and egg whitey. You know, that's a good cervical mucus for ovulation. Let's see, basal body temperature, not my favorite thing in the entire world. That's taking your temperature every single morning and finding when it rises just a smidge. It's like a decimal, like really, really small rise in your temperature. Then you're ready to ovulate. I didn't like it. I didn't pay attention to it. It wasn't something that worked for me. But there are special thermometers out there for you that are a basal body temperature thermometer. And get one, check it out. If it works for you, it works for you. They're like $5-10. Like Amazon that. It's fine. Apps. I can't recommend apps more. Like they're amazing. Some apps that might be helpful for you. I use Glow. And that for me was about tracking my menstrual cycle, tracking my ovulation, tracking, you know, if I had spotting, tracking my moods, tracking all sorts of things. And I also used that when I was pregnant with the Glow Nurture app. And that was to monitor the baby and track the baby's growth and all of that. So that was awesome. And let's see, a calendar. If you have a wall calendar in your house and this is something that you and your spouse are trying to go through together, maybe mark on the calendar when your week is, your ovulation week. There are 6 specific days that your body is in the ovulation process where it's highly recommended that you have intercourse to actually conceive a child. During those 6 days, the first 3 are good days to have sex. Awesome. The last 3 are the best days to have sex. Those are like your high fertility. These are when you really should be getting down and boogieing. You know, I can't stress that enough. Those 3 days are key. The very last day is the actual day that you're ovulating. And that's important to know. because if you're only having sex the first 3 days, but you don't have sex the last 3 days and you miss the day that you actually ovulate, the sperms are in there for a while. Like, I think it's 72 hours that your sperms will stay alive inside your vagina, but that's only 72 hours. Like, you gotta like help it out there a little bit. And speaking of sperm, there is an increase in sperm if you have sex more often, but there's also a decrease if you have sex too often. So once a day, great. Every other day, great. If you're having sex like 4 or 5 times a day, probably not so great. You're gonna wanna have, faster sperm and more of them, and you'll get more of them if you give it a day in between or every other day in between. If you're waiting longer times between that, then they're not gonna be quite as good. You want the quality and the quantity to be high. So, good stuff to know. Let's see. So, lubricants. I think that's a really important thing to talk about because, as we get older and age, we're not all quite as juicy as we used to be when we were like 18, 19, 20 years old. Lube it up. Get it all nice and juicy. Sorry if that's vulgar. Do it. That's awesome. You're trying to make a baby here. We are not going to be like non-vulgar in this conversation. There are some great lubricants out there that are specifically made for conception. One of the things you want to keep track of is that a lot of lubricants out there, your normal ones, your KYs, your Astroglides, so on and so forth, they have spermicides in them. So don't use them if you're trying to have a baby. If you want to make a human, those are not the ones to use to make that happen. So you want to stick with something that maybe doesn't have spermicide in it, maybe is a little bit more geared towards conception. So one of those, the one that I've used forever, is called Pre-Seed. Okay. That was doctor recommended to me as something that I should use. It's easy to use. It feels great. It's a nice lubricant. If you want something that's a little bit more natural, you can use canola oil. And you can also use mineral oil. I mean, those are super natural. And there are several other brands out there. If you're looking for something that's paraben free and you're concerned about that, there are multiple other brands out there. Look them up, research them, talk to your doctor about them. Let's see. Oh yeah. The baby dance, sex, making love, that should be fun. Don't allow yourself to get into a routine of it where you're no longer enjoying making love to your spouse to create a human. And I think that's a very important thing to remember. See, human, this one's fun. So make it fun. Do things differently. Maybe you are enjoying each other outdoors. Maybe you're in the living room in the middle of the night. Maybe you are, at a friend's wedding. I don't know. Wherever you like to do it. Make it interesting. Dress up, play, whatever. I don't care. Have fun with it. You guys are together for a reason. You love each other. That's why you're making a baby together. And just enjoy each other to the fullest extent that you possibly can. All right, let's see. So you've done all these things to make a baby. Now you're in the 2-week wait. And these 2 weeks are dreadful. They're awful. It's just like, oh my gosh, I'm waiting so long. I really, really want to have a baby. When can I start testing? And there's so many times. Distract yourself. Go do something fun. Go out with friends. Go out to dinner together. Maybe take a trip during those 2 weeks. So you're not thinking about it. You're not waiting for it. You're not sitting there on the couch going, can I test today? So you'll see a term out there called DPO, days past ovulation. Once you hit 14 days past ovulation, you should be starting your menstrual cycle. You should be starting your period. That should be day 1 for you. If you're not, then you need to be testing. And that would be a great day to do it. So I have it marked on my calendar. Day 14, DPO day 14, I will be testing to see if I'm pregnant. I will have my tests out there. There are tons and tons of tests that you can get. I personally love the Clear Blue Digital because it says pregnant. It's not like, hey, I'm reading the line and it doesn't say anything. I can't see, it's too faint, whatever. It's yes or it's no. That's it. But I also get other ones. You can get stuff at the dollar store. You can go to Target. You can get them all over the place. So there's tons of options out there for you. It's going to be amazing. You're going to have so much fun doing it. And if you get a negative, try again. Keep trying. Try. Have a lot of sex. All right, so terms that you may have heard me say, terms that maybe your friends have said, alphabet soup. So let's see, some of the things, BFP. That's what we're going for. We want a big, fat, positive. Ha. There's also a BFN. You're gonna get some of those. Those are big, fat negatives. If you get one, try again. OPK, we talked about that, ovulation predictor kit. CM is your cervical mucus. DPO, days past ovulation. BBT, basal body temperature. BD, the baby dance. Not like she's dancing right now. That's different. TWW, 2-week wait. And TTC, trying to conceive. Now there's tons of other terms out there that might be super confusing and you're like, what does that mean? I have no idea. Those are all things that you can look up. You can Google them. You can ask people about them. It's going to be amazing. You're going to do a fantastic job at it. So keep trying. Keep shooting for something. Because someday you're going to have one of these. Hi. And she's amazing. And she's worth every single time that we tried. She's the biggest blessing of our entire life. And we can't wait to have another big blessing just like her. And a little bit about our story with trying to conceive Reagan is that we tried for 5 years. And we weren't doing the, talk to the doctor, figure out if you've got any issues or whatever. I was in my late 20s. And I thought if we just were not on birth control and not protecting ourselves against pregnancy, then we would get her. And that wasn't true. It took a long time. We knew when we were ovulating, I had the green week on the calendar. We knew, what days were best, what days were strongest, and it just didn't happen for 5 years. I did do the HSG that I talked about earlier in the episode, and within 6 months I was pregnant. I have no idea if that was what did it or not. But we definitely, actually got a nice hefty little human out of it. And, some other things that were kind of fun. I had my husband, get his sperm checked. And one of the funny things about that is the first time we did that, I actually gave him the wrong location to bring his sample to. So he did his business at home. When you do your business at home, you have 30 minutes to get it into the clinic to get it checked. 30 minutes from when it's done coming out to when it needs to be in the lab. So he did his business, put it in the cup, and drove it over to the facility, which I had been at earlier that day getting my blood drawn. Wrong facility. Didn't know that. Handed it to the poor girl. Said, "Here's my specimen. My name's on it. All my information." She said, "Okay, great," and he left. We still have no idea where those swimmers are. There are some women, you might be one of them, who gets pregnant right away and doesn't have to wait through all the BFNs, big fat negatives, doesn't have to go through Aunt Flo every single month, doesn't go through multiple miscarriages. My mom had multiple miscarriages, more than most people that I've ever met, actually. You might have several. I have friends who've had one or two. I've had one myself. And you might have chemical pregnancies where, the egg doesn't actually attach to the uterus and you continue on and have a normal period. Like you totally thought that, you weren't pregnant. Maybe you took 2 or 3 pregnancy tests that came back positive and then all of a sudden they're negative and you've started your period again. That might be a chemical pregnancy. Talk to your doctor about that. Maybe that's something that's normal for you. Also, talk to your doctors about in vitro. Talk to your doctors about different ways that, maybe you can't carry a baby. Maybe surrogacy is an option for you. Maybe it's something with your spouse's guys. Maybe they're not good swimmers. Maybe you need to work on that. There are different things you can do. Get out there. Do your baby dance. We'll talk to you soon.